HTML is a markup language or a coding language whose sole purpose is to describe the content of a page. So HTML provides us with a bunch of elements that look sort of like this, and they all have a purpose. They all have what's called a semantic associated with them. And semantics is the idea that each of these elements means something, not that it looks a certain way. That's what CSS is for. But each of these elements has a very specific purpose, and it means something to our content. So when we're writing our HTML, the elements and tags that we choose are based on what the content means, not how it looks. Now, creating HTML is actually very basic, and any modern computer, in fact any computer ever created, can create an HTML document. And so on my Mac here, I'm going to open up TextEdit here, which is the text editing thing that comes with my Mac. And in this, I can actually create a HTML file. So what I need to do is I need to go to Format, make plain text, and then just save it. So I'm going to save it here into the right folder. Now, when I'm saving my HTML elements, they have to follow our naming conventions, which you can find a document for on GitHub. The home page for every website that you create is always called index.html. And that's a thing that's set up by the server. So servers assume that your home page is called index.html. And our naming conventions, again, are all lowercase, no spaces and dashes if you want to separate words. So here I'm calling my homepage index.html. And I'm going to save it. Just press use HTML. And then in here, I'm going to write some content. So right here, what I've got is a little bit of text and inside of my index.html. Now, if I want to view that in the browser, all I need to do is grab my HTML file and drop it onto Chrome. And you can see right here, this is an HTML page. And it's really simple now. If I want to go back and add some more content, I can go in here, more content about dinosaurs. Save that and go back and refresh, and you can see that that new content is showing up here. But you'll notice it's all smushed together. And that's okay. That's how HTML works. The organization, the display of the content, that's up to CSS. So if I wanted to describe this content in some way, I need to think about what the purpose of these two lines of text is. So maybe this bottom line here, I think, is a paragraph. So in HTML, the way that we describe this piece of text as a paragraph is we surround it with tags. And if you remember that reference we looked at a minute ago, one of the tags that we had is the P tag, and it looks like this. So this right here says we're starting a paragraph at this point. It's a less than symbol, then the tag name, and then a greater than. So we're starting our paragraph here, but you have to remember that computers are actually kind of stupid. So it doesn't know when to end the paragraph. That's up to us as the developer to tell it. And we want to end our paragraph over here, so I'm going to go /p like that. So it's basically the same as the opening one, you can see, except that it has a / in it. And that means the paragraph is ending here. So this is a paragraph. And now what's the purpose of this thing up here? Maybe it's a heading. And HTML has 3 or 6 different levels of headings. The first one is called the H1, or heading level 1. And so that's an H1 like that. I'm going to start my H1 there and end it over here. So I'm not choosing these elements based on how they look. I'm choosing them based on their purpose. I chose H1 because I feel like this is a heading, and I chose paragraph because I feel like this is just a paragraph of text. If I go back to my browser and refresh, you'll notice that it does actually change. But what we're seeing here is not the H1. It's not the fact that the H1 is big, or the H1 isn't inherently big and bold. It's just that the browser has some default CSS in it already that happens to make the H1 a little bit bigger and bolder. All that CSS is in control or we're in control of, where we can overwrite it. So this is how we make a really basic HTML file. You can do it in any text editor that supports plain text. All you have to do is name it .html and open it in a browser, and you have an HTML file.